start our program.
Okay. Munmun madam, kindly start your program. Munmun madam, are you here?
Am I audible now?
Yes, 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 yes.
So, good afternoon to all of you. Here I am Munmun Burman, Faculty SciArt. First of all, I would like to welcome everyone in this 3 days online capacity building program on landslide risk management and geospatial technology by National Institute of Disaster Management, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, and South Asian Institute for Advanced Research and Development, SciArt. We all know that the aim of this program is to give a conceptual scenario in different directions to make the hilly terrains and coastal areas free of landslide disasters, like to promote the use of landslide risk and analysis techniques, to improve education, training, and awareness about the landslide hazards and mitigation options for decision makers, and other aspects, of course, which we will further discuss in our all 3 days capacity building program session. So, but at first, I would like to request Mr. Arindam Ray, Director Academic Affairs SIRE, to address participants and trigger the first day of this session, sir.
Thank you, Munmun ma'am. Welcome all of you.
Participants, just wait for a minute because might be there is some technical issue at that side. Is going to join soon.
Hello, may I audible?
Sir, you are audible.
Yes.
So can you? Yes,
Thank
okay.
you, Munmun ma'am. Welcome all of you in 3 days online training program, Landslide Risk Management and Geospatial Technology, jointly organized by NITM and CDMP SIAT. I want to convey my gratitude to Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal sir, Executive Director NITM, Government of India, Professor Surya Prakash sir, Dr. V.K. Sharma sir, Dr. Sunil Kumar De sir, Dr. Vishwajit Bera sir, and last not for the least, Dr. Vishwajit Rai Choudhury for joining with us. Landslides play an important role in the evolution of landscapes and still represent a major threat to urban areas and anthropogenic activities through infrastructure, cultural, and environmental heritage. In the last decades, advanced remote sensing techniques have undergone a significant increases of usage and effective tools for landslide mapping, inventory, and monitoring at various scales. The goal of this special issue is to gather high equal quality original research articles and reviews on innovative geospatial approaches, synergistic use of remote sensing techniques, and case studies application for landslide detection, mapping, and monitoring. From spaceborne to ground-based to UAV platform. Today we have many eminent professors who will shed a lot of lights on this subject. So without wasting any more time, I will ask Munmun ma'am to continue the program. Thank you everyone for joining with us. Over to you, Munmun ma'am. Thank you.
Just a minute. Yes. Okay. So now we are now going to begin. And yes, before that, I would request our chairman, sir, from SIAT to address the participants. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Munmun ma'am. Thank you, Arindam. And thank you to all the participants, especially the Honorable Executive Director, Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal sir of NIDM, and also Professor Surya Kumar sir and his team, and our distinguished delegates, especially Professor Vinod Kumar sir from Sikkim Disaster Management Authority, Sikkim, Professor Vishwajit Bera, Professor Sunil Kumar De, and all the resource persons, those who have joined for these 3 days national level capacity building program on landslide risk management as well as geospatial technology. And we are firstly, I would like to share my sincere thanks to Manoj Kumar Bindal sir and all the team members of NIDM, because this is the 4th program we are going to organize in association with NIDM. And whenever we will approach to the Bindal sir or the Professor Surya Kumar sir or other resource person or professors from NIDM, they always sharing their supporting hands to organize these type of academic program, and definitely it will help in knowledge building capacity, because our resource persons, those who have joined from the different parts of the world in later previous time or in the this program, I whatever the feedback we got, so really it's a wonderful session, each and every sessions, and people those who have joined from the different corners of the world, they will get some extra outputs or inputs from their day-to-day knowledge about the selected topics. So in this respect, I will not extend my version, but also I would like to say that on behalf of SIAD, we are also continually doing lots of academic capacity building programs, not only this type of training or capacity building, but also seminar, conference. And throughout the year, not only throughout the year, but throughout the week, we are continuously doing such kind of academic initiatives. And we also welcome to all of you to keep in touch with us, as that in future we can also go ahead with us, as that we can support through your support and through your cooperation, we can also do this kind of academic initiative in future. Also we can provide you this kind of mind energetics and also this kind of knowledge building programs in future we can give you. And one more, I would like to request to all of you that on behalf of SIAD, we are going to organize first time in the International River Congress in Kolkata on 27th to 29th December. That's why I'm just came in the Anthropological Survey of India due to the venue inspection. And I will request to all the participants, those who have joined here, you please attend in our conference. In future, you may get every details in our website. And I'm lucky enough that Professor Vinod Kumar sir has also given his kind consent to become our distinguished speaker on that International River Congress in this way. And hopefully NIDM also will join with us. I have already discussed with Manoj sir. And in future, we will definitely, as I told, definitely we will give lots of these kind of mind-blowing energetic sessions for your academic enlistment. And thank you, Munmur ma'am. Thank you, all the delegates once again. And thank you to the participants also. Over to you, Munmur ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to request Professor Surya Prakash, NIDM Government of India, to address our participants here. Before that, I would like to say something about the sir, that Professor Surya Prakash is a doctorate in earth sciences with specialization in geohazard risk management. Currently, Professor Prakash is head of the Geometeorological Risk Management Division of CBRN, DRR, and Cybersecurity Division, faculty in charge of specialized centers, a Center for Hill Area Development, Center for Early Warning and Communication, Center for Coastal Disaster Risk Reduction and Resilience, Flood Monitoring Center, and Emergency Operations Center, as well as coordinating faculty for 8 central ministries, that is Mines, Communication, Northeastern States, Petroleum and Natural Gas, Shipping, Labor and Employment, DGMS, New and Renewable Energy, and Parliamentary Affairs. So here is a request, sir, so to address our participants. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon to all, and my warm welcome to our distinguished experts of today's program, including dignitaries like Professor Vinod Sharma ji, who has joined with us in this program, as well as Shri Rai Chaudhary ji and all others who are joining and would be likely to join in the next 3 days. This theme of the program is very, very important, particularly in these days, since the monsoons are just over, and we normally expect very deep-seated landslides in post-monsoon periods, particularly in the hilly terrains of the Himalayan regions. Recently, we have just concluded during this month, from 2nd to 5th of November, we had our 5th World Landslide Forum, which was held in Japan. Both physical as well as online hybrid kind of conference was held during this year. Earlier, it has been primarily the physical World Landslide Forum, but due to COVID situation, this has happened this year. So landslides have been well perceived at the international level, to say that so, as one of the major issues striking the hilly terrains and affecting the lives, livelihoods, living places, livestock, and the environment as well as the resources in the hills. So we have been working on it for quite a long time. I remember I personally started working way back in 1990, early 90, when the UN declared the International Decade for Natural Disaster Reduction. And we started collecting the database on landslides, studying the landslide characteristics, and also the conditions leading to the landslides, as well as we started working on the remedial works for the landslide situations. We had also tried to develop some systems for the early warning on landslides. And at the global level, the regional early warning systems based on particularly the rainfall thresholds have worked quite good. But the local site conditions and specific slope-specific early warning systems are yet to see the light of the day because they are still in the development state. And we need to actually work out with them, because that's where it will make a difference to the lives of the people. Normally, based on the rainfall intensities and the past experiences and statistical probability analysis, we have been trying to infer the potential for the landslides in a given area. But that's not enough, because we cannot take actions at the grassroots level to the extent which are required to save the lives. So most of the people in the region do get alerts and become watchful and try to save themselves and protect others. But then the specific slopes which are likely to fail in a given environmental conditions with a given rainfall or even with earthquakes. Many of the earthquakes which happened, I can cite you examples way back from 1991. I remember 20th October early morning when an earthquake happened in Uttarkashi. Lot of landslides took place. And simultaneously, similarly, that happened in Chamoli earthquake also, that happened on 29th March 1999. And if I come just recent back on 18th September 2011, when it happened in Sikkim. So earthquakes are also leading to multiple landslides, which actually obstruct our response activities as well. So particularly during the monsoon periods, they are very active and very destructive. But it's not so that they become totally, dormant or in a sleeping mode or inactive state in the post-monsoon periods. I remember a major landslide which took place at the end of September 2003 in the Varnawat Hills in Uttarkashi district. Monsoons closed on 22nd of September. 25th of September, this landslide actually triggered and affected more than 400 of buildings. And not only those buildings, but also the national highway, which is also a strategic road towards our borders to China. So these landslides have multiple perspectives and dimensions. On the other hand, the geospatial technology that we are likely to talk is again one of the major tools that we are utilizing, particularly in the areas which are inaccessible and which required regional monitorings. I remember just during this year in February 7th, 2021, when a major rock slope along with the glacier body failed in the upper reaches of the Joshimath block of Chamoli district in Uttarakhand state at around 10:30 a.m. Then the whole of the monitoring process and the studies, because it was an inaccessible area falling in the glaciated region, was done through satellite images, and we took help from NRSC, and we could decipher the volume of the mass that got detached, the velocity with which it has moved, and the area which were affected. So many of the parameters which are required for immediate reconnaissance and actions are actually deciphered using these geospatial technologies. On the other hand, in long terms also, we have been utilizing geospatial technology nowadays to find the terrain changes that are happening over a period of time, leading to the changes and variabilities in the occurrence of various hazards, including landslides. And landslide hazard generation is in fact one of the oldest techniques that we have been utilizing since 1980s and even sometimes earlier. But from 1990s onwards, it has been very much prevalent. And recently, Geological Survey of India, which is nodal agency for landslides, actually completed more than 80% of its project on national landslide susceptibility mapping. And most of the layers which are being generated are utilizing the geospatial technologies. So geospatial technologies give us information about land use, land cover, drainage conditions, even our rock types, structural conditions, tectonic conditions, and so on, and even human occupations. So nowadays, with the large scale mapping and high resolutions of the satellite imageries, and even utilization of the drones for the aerial photography and aerial reconnaissance are some of these techniques which are being utilized to decipher or detect landslides and take adequate actions. So there are many things that we can do. And landslides, in fact, are one of those geohazards which has the highest potential for prevention and highest cost-benefit ratio in terms of remediation and proactive actions. So if we become more careful and aware, informed, and prepared, we may be able to reduce the risks from the landslides. At present, and according to an estimate, approximately about on an average, 1 to 1.5 billion rupee are lost on an average in the country. And almost 12.6% of our territory, which counts for about 0.42 million square kilometer of our land territory, is affected by landslides to various degrees. So I think we will be learning more, and I would urge participants to be very attentive and to ask questions to our experts who will be deliberating on these themes so that it becomes useful as per their inquisitiveness and requirements. So unless this knowledge which is gained is not practiced, will not benefit us. So I would also request that one must actually utilize the knowledge learned and make it practice and disseminate to others. So advocacy is equally required. We have got national policy on disaster management, which was released on 22nd October 2009. We also released our national guidelines on management of landslides and avalanches in June 2009. And also recently in 2019, we had also released our national strategy on landslides, risk reduction and resilience, landslide risk management. And there are many other efforts ongoing. We are also nowadays working on the landslide risk mitigation projects and schemes, along with all concerned stakeholders. And also the data set, I remember a few years back when I started, I was convener of the National Committee on Landslide Database. We had very few landslides database, maybe around 2,000 at that time, which was increased to 10,000 and now more than 60,000. But imagine the area affected in our country where the landslide is almost equal to the total area of Italy and total area of Japan, more than that even. So that's the extent to which we are affected, and it's very widespread, sudden and frequent as well. So landslides, if you take the cumulative losses, Sometimes they are even more than the rare high magnitude events, like earthquakes. So we must, and along with earthquakes, more than 20% of the losses, I remember, in various earthquakes, not only within India, even across India, other countries like China, Taiwan, Japan, and Turkey, landslides accounted for almost 20 to 25% of the losses and the damages. So I remember the Sichuan earthquake I was dealing with in 2008, 12th May, which happened around 80,000 casualty that happened, and more than 20,000 were just because of landslides. So that's the kind of the damages that landslides can cause or pose. So I think there is a need to deliberate on this topic and work on this, and we need to make changes in our plans, policies, guidelines, and procedures to reduce the incidents and impacts of the landslides and utilize the state-of-art technologies at a broader level. With these words, I wish all the best to all the distinguished speakers, and I would like to thank SIR for collaborating with us, and we are also thankful to our Executive Director, Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, Vashisht Seva Medal, who also actually motivated and promoted us to undertake such collaborative activities with so many partners and distinguished experts. So thank you one and all, and I wish all the best to everyone. I think there is a need to change our attitudes and perspectives to bring new changes, dimensions and directions for risk reduction and resilience. किसी शायर ने कहा कि नजर बदलो नजारे बदल जाएंगे, सोच बदलो सितारे बदल जाएंगे, कश्तियों को बदलने की जरूरत नहीं यारो, दिशा बदलो किनारे बदल जाएंगे. So let's work on this and stop not till our goal is achieved, as said by Vivekanand. It's very much important. So with these words, I thank you for this opportunity to express my views. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This is really a nice address from you, sir. And along with that, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on today's key points. Through your prior experiences also, you shared your thoughts, so that really we are grateful to you, sir. Now, our inaugural session addresses will be incomplete. So if we didn't hear Major General M.K. Bindal, sir. So for next, I would like to request Major General M.K. Bindal, sir, to address our participants. And let me tell that Major General M.K. Bindal is presently the Executive Director, NIDM. He was an alumnus of the NDA. Major General M.K. Bindal is a graduate of the Defense Services Staff College and has attended the prestigious Higher Command courses, the Army War College, besides excelling in all other career courses in the Army. He holds a master's degree in Defense and Strategic Studies, as well as Masters of Philosophy in Defense and Management Studies. During his more than 3 decades of service, he has held important command and staff assignments, having held all echelons of command within an air defense regiment in diverse theaters. He commanded an air defense regiment and an air defense brigade in the Kashmir region against the backdrop of counter-insurgency operation, was general officer commanding of the sensitive sub-area in the northeast. He has been on the staff of a mountain brigade deployed in higher altitudes and armored division deployed in the plains, in the desert corps, also in the higher altitude, and was also in the higher altitude headquarters. He has also been posted as Deputy Director General in Directorate of Army Air Defense, where he was dealing with operations training, air defense control and reporting, and air intelligence issues. Major General M.K. Bindal served as the Provost Marshal in the United Nations missions in Mozambique, where he was deeply involved in the liquidation of the mission. He has been the Director Center for the United Nations Peacekeeping, New Delhi. For 3 years, he was also the Secretary of the International Association of Peacekeeping Training Center. So I would like to request Major General M.K. Bindal, sir, to address us.
Ma'am, most probably Manoj sir will not be able to join due to some meeting. So you please continue with Vinod Kumar sir. Am I right, Anil sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
ED sir will be not available
Okay.
for this.
So you please continue.
Okay, today the Major Sir is not available. So now I would like to request Professor Vinod Kumar Sharma Sir to address our participants. He is currently the Senior Professor, Disaster Management Consultant at Indian Institute of Public Administration and Vice Chairman, Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority, Government of Sikkim. He is member of Science, Technology and Innovation Policy of Government of India, SCIC 2020. So I would like to request again Sir Vinod Kumar Sharma sir to address as the inaugural address here.
Thank you, Ms. Munmun, Shri Dr. Vishwajit Rai Chaudhary ji, Chairman SIPARD, and my very dear colleague, Professor Surya Prakash, and friends. I compliment, NIDM and SIARD for this kind of collaboration, because in disaster management, the most important thing which I feel is, dissemination of knowledge. And I can see that more than 75 participants, from different corner of this country, they have joined it. Some of them are university students, some of them are from civil defense, some of them are from police services, and so on and so forth, NCC coordinator, and I can see, the whole bunch of people, and they are all stakeholders, You know that landslide is one disaster, one hazard, which is very prevalent, in 12 states of this country. And the entire Northeast, the, Uttarakhand, Himachal, Jammu and Kashmir, and similarly Western Ghat, it may be Kerala, Maharashtra, and the area, which is covered by Western Ghat, all these states are vulnerable for landslides. And landslide is one disaster which is causing enormous loss. It may not be, human life loss, because most of the landslide, because I am from Sikkim, and Munmunji rightly introduced that I am working in Sikkim Disaster Management Authority since 2012. And every year we are facing number of landslides. So there is, there may not be more human life loss. And Surya Prakash ji was giving very good examples of earthquake, etc., where more or at least 22-25% human life loss is because of the landslide. But I will say that sometimes with the landslide, the entire landscape change, We belong to, a state like Sikkim, and when there is landslide, we don't know where was the land of this farmer. You can see only in the map, and the, field is not there. So you can see this kind of situation. Similarly, because most of the landslide will be there where there is either a stream or there is lake or there is river. And when landslide is there, sometimes the river convert into lake. In Sikkim, this has happened. There was a landslide, a big landslide, and ultimately river was blocked and a big lake was formed. And this was a big threat to us, because in case there is a lake or this big lake or artificial lake which is formed, in case it break or in case it burst, then the I think our hydroelectric plants and everything and huge economic loss will be there. So our relief commissioner of the state, the district magistrate, everybody was convincing these farmers and these people of these villages that let us, remove some debris so that we can have a passage for the river. And villagers, they say, no, this is the gift of nature to us. Now there is a big lake and it will be a tourist attraction. People will be coming, they were not knowing how dangerous, this structure is. And any time if it bursts, then it may cause, havoc in the whole state. Chief Minister, Honorable Chief Minister went there, ministers were there. It is not long back. It is just 2015, 2016. And, they were not able to convince them that we should have a passage or we should remove, some area, And luckily, because sometimes nature also help you. So there was a big rainfall and luckily, one portion was removed and ultimately a small passage formed. And then this lake was, converted again into river. So many times, I have seen many cases where the rivers were blocked by the landslides. I have seen, you might have seen recently, in Uttarakanshi. And so this is again a very important thing that the landscape and particularly in India, Himalaya is more vulnerable for this thing. And the cause very rightly explained by my friend Surya that, the landslides are caused by so many things. It is caused by, suppose there is a very high degree of slope, suppose there is no vegetation, there is complete deforestation, suppose there is no cover, vegetational cover or forest cover. So there are many things. And nowadays, I was going through two reports, before coming to this workshop. One was the IPCC report, which they very clearly saying that in coming years, particularly the country like ours, they will be affected more because there may be more extreme weather events. And in case there is more, extreme weather events, then definitely, the area which is vulnerable for landslide, that will be affected more. As Dr. Surya was explaining to you, that if the rainfall is high or if there is a cloud burst, of course, earthquake is a major thing. In case earthquake happen, even of low magnitude, you will see that there will be even a small earthquake that may not, affect population, but that will affect the areas, which is vulnerable for landslide, and there will be number of landslides. We have seen, I fully agree with Surya Prakash ji, that start with 91, he gave beautiful example of Uttarakanshi earthquake or Chamoli earthquake or Sikkim earthquake, even Kashmir earthquake in 2005, even Nepal earthquake, which has happened in 2015, and so on and so forth. Each and every earthquake which is happening in Himalayan region, I think this is one precursor, for landslides. And these landslides affect our houses, affect our agriculture, affect the vegetation, which is there. And as I told you that not only this, the water bodies, the flowing water body, stagnant water body, each and everything will get affected. So I think this is one of the major disasters, in Himalayan region. And let me tell you, there was a COP, 26, and you might be following it and seeing, India's commitment, etc. You also might be knowing that when we were saying vulnerability, of climate change, not only COP26, even earlier than that, 2 months back, Dr. Akhilesh Gupta, from DST, he was stating that the study which was made by Department of Science and Technology, it is saying that more than 120 districts are more vulnerable. And most of the districts are from the northeast. Most of the districts are from Himalayan region. And you can imagine if there are extreme weather events in Himalayan region, definitely there will be more probability of landslides. Now I am coming to, that what should be our role and what should be this type of program can do. I think this is a very good initiative. And I was saying to Dr. Roy Chaudhary that it's a very good initiative that you have collaborated with NIDM, which is doing lots of work in knowledge dissemination, and Surya Prakash ji is leading in, and he's a leading scientist in landslides. He has done a lot in Sikkim also. His work, in fact, he was doing a collaboration with Japan and giving us sensors, very high quality, but he was not successful because of some maybe bureaucratic thing, or maybe at national level there were some problems. We provided him all possible help, but somehow, we couldn't do that. But anyway, whatever training, whatever knowledge is given to our people, Surya Prakash is having a great role in that. And I am thankful to him for this thing. Friends, let me just conclude, because there are there are other speakers and other. One is that this program, why it is important for me, because geospatial technology, this research, this can provide much more detail. In case you want to do the vulnerability study, in case you want to do risk assessment, I think this is one science. This is one technology which is very, very useful, particularly in landslide thing. You might be knowing that Professor R.K. Bhandari, he has given a atlas for the landslides, and I will request any student who is interested in this. This is published by Building Material Technology Promotion Council, and he has given a very detailed description of places which are more vulnerable for landslides. Now, because I am having another hat, that I am Vice Chairman of Sikkim Disaster Management Authority. So in Sikkim, we are thinking that landslide will be our major thing. So in fact, we have two approaches. One approach is, in fact, three approaches. One approach is that, we know the vulnerable area, etc. We have this atlas. We have, remote sensing experts. We have geospatial experts. And with the help of that, I will not say it is a micro-zonation map, but for cities like Gangtok and some part, we have gone up to micro-zonation also. And we have vulnerability map. So one thing we are doing, that we are making a plan which is, for immediate 5 years, which we should do immediately. So we have identified, which are the most hot spots, from landslide point of view. And what are the things which we should do in 10 years? And what are the things which we should do in 15 years? Same way, because landslide is a process which cannot be stopped in one day, which cannot be mitigated in one day, I think it should have approach which is very systematic. So this is one approach. Second thing is that you might be knowing, all the participants might be knowing, that today India is having a national plan for disaster preparedness, mitigation, response. Every state is having a state plan. Every district is having a district plan. So I think we should approach, for the multi-hazard, approach, and landslide should be placed. Normally people describe, flash floods, at the most, cyclone or this kind of thing. Landslides are missing, in the state level planning or district level planning. In Sikkim, we have incorporated it in up to district level planning. And my approach is, I am saying we should go a step ahead. And step ahead means that in case geospatial science or this technology you are using, friends, I think you can go up to the micro-zonation level. Depend, how many experts you have, how much money you have, how much, scientific, your temperament is there. But in case you have, then you can do detailed planning. Then you can come out, that these are the real hot spot, and you can do mitigation program as we are doing in Sikkim. And we have involved, some universities, and I'm thankful to Amrita University, which is there in Trivandrum. They are helping us, in this thing, So I think, this is a second approach, that scientific knowledge, and this should be there. संजय, मैं थोड़ी देर में करता हूँ, मैं थोड़ी देर में करता हूँ, 5 मिनट में करता हूँ. So this is second thing. The third thing which we are doing, that that our district level plan, state level plan, and central plan, they should match, and it is a multi-hazard approach. This we should do. Third thing is that we are also having more than 300 glacial lakes. And we should not forget that glacial lake management, that this is also important nowadays, because glaciers are melting, they are receding, and lakes are increasing in size. We have seen that, recently, Lonach Lake, which was increased, about 6 to 7 times. So we could do mitigation work over there. So mitigation we can do, we can start once we are having scientific knowledge, once we have this thing. And then one more thing, that when you are doing district level planning, this is not enough in landslide. I think you will have to go up to block level, panchayat level, and you need volunteers. You need civil defense people. You need people, who really interested in this work. And these volunteers can play a very important role, and they should know that what is landslide, what is the preparedness which is required for it, what are the mitigation measures, and they should be exposed to this kind of program, which we are having. One more point, that we, in this area which is prone to landslide, we are having most of the dams, in this area. And in these dams, in case there are landslides, so they will also be affected. They are already silted already. The capacity which was there for 50 years, now it remains for 30 years. And if there is frequent landslides, then definitely, all these small dams, big dams, they will be affected. And that's why I am saying that this is not the, landslide mitigation. You need an expert who knows everything, who knows geology of the place, soil science, meteorology, agriculture, horticulture, silviculture, forestry, and all this knowledge, that what type of vegetation cover should be there. And that's why, because this is one disaster, which is linked with development, this is linked with agriculture practices, this is linked with type of forestry we are having, this is linked with the, grassland or vegetational cover. And my point is, my simple point in this is that in case you really wish that we have sustainable development, of any state or any place, then definitely we should look, about the hazards, their vulnerability, their risk, and then learn the preparedness process and mitigation. Now we are fortunate that we have mitigation fund. Now we have money. We have money for scientific knowledge. Our scientists are next to none, I should say, very knowledgeable people, and we are proud of them. So friends, we should use our capability, we should use our resources, and then we can have safe India. I once again thank, SIAD, for selecting this topic. And I heard that you have done series of program, and then this is the fourth one. I wish all the success to the program. And in next program, I will request all my officers of Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority to join officially. And because this is the topic, which is very close to our heart, and we should do together. I think this kind of organization or local organization which are working on this kind of issues, they should be complimented, they should be encouraged. And I am so glad that you have invited me today to just talk to these participants. I have another meeting, which is the call is already there. So I will leave Munmunji, you will excuse me. And thank you very much, for your kind invitation. Thank you. Over to you, Munmun.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you to address us, sir, to highlight the keynotes, the key points of the today's topic. As the topics about we are going to conduct our 3 days capacity building program. And thank you very much, sir, for encouraging us. Actually, these are very important things that to encourage you, your encouragement, tell us that to keep moving and to keep looking forward and to keep moving. So thank you so much, sir. Now moving to the next part. We have there is a special lecture by Professor Sunil Kumar Dey. So I would request to Professor Sunil Kumar Dey for the special lecture for today's session. Let me tell that Professor Sunil Kumar Dey is a professor and former head of the Department of Geography, Northeastern Hill University, Shillong, India. His major fields of interest are geomorphological hazards, fluvial dynamics, and human impact on environment. He has completed major research projects and published 68 research papers in different national and international reputed journals and book chapters. He has edited 2 books on geomorphology and environment and co-authored a book, River Health. 12 PhD and 6 MPhil candidates have been received degree under his supervision. More PhDs are in progress under his supervision. He has received national and UNESCO scholarship. He has served as the executive committee member, joint secretary, and vice president of the Indian Institute of Geomorphologists. Since 2008, he has been acting as the international correspondence secretary of the same institute. He was elected as the publication officer of International Association of Geomorphologists for the period 2009 and to 2013. Secretary General of the period 2013 to 2017, Vice President of the IAG for the period 2017 and to 2021, and was the President Chair of the same group and working for the geomorphological hazards there. So over to you, sir, and I would like to request you to address for your special lecture. Over to you, Sunil, sir. Am I audible? Am I audible, sir?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
So, this Sunil sir is here. Let me check. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome, Sunil sir. Professor Sunil Kumar Dey is here along with us.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So I would request you to for your special lectures, sir.
Should I start now?
Yes, sir. You can start now, sir.
Okay. हाँ हाँ मेरा अभी लेक्चर है, दो लेक्चर।
तुम्हारा इलाहाबाद वाला?
हाँ ना इलाहाबाद नहीं। I will share my slide first.
Yes, sir.
Is it visible now, no?
Yes, sir. This is visible.
Okay, I'm very sorry. Actually, I missed the date. That's why I'm a bit late.
Okay.
Anyway, I will
But
speak
you are
on.
in time, sir. It's okay, sir. You are in absolutely in time, sir.
Sorry?
You are absolutely in time, sir.
Okay.
Wait, there.
I will speak on this landslide risk generation and management plan. And this is examples from Tripura. Along with me, my former PhD scholar, now is a teacher. He is with me because both of us studied the area together. Now, this is the location of Tripura. Firstly, we need to understand, for when we are going to landslide studies, we need to understand the geological and geomorphological setup of the area. This is the CTAB. It means that Chittagong Tripura Fold Belt, and these are elongated northwest to southeast directed, this parallel fold belts. And this is very close to this. This is the plate boundary zone where this Indian subcontinental plate is compressing this and creating this type of folded sediments. And these are the parallel valleys and ridges in this Tripura. Here you see these are the anticlines and these are the synclines. Synclines are the dotted lines, and these are Boramura, Atharamura, Longtarai. These are the hill ranges over there, parallel. Almost all of them are parallel to each other. Now, I am not going into the details about our study area. It is Dhalai district in Tripura. This is a district within which this maximum number of landslides have been occurred. And if we see, this is the area between these two. This is Atharamura and Boramura, and this is Atharamura. Between these two, these are the places. And in this area, maximum number of landslides are taking place mainly due to human intervention. So this was the brief part of the study area. Now we have done the landslide risk assessment. After that, we have this identified the zonations, zones of landslide risk. We have validated it. And after that, we have proposed the necessary measure of this of landslide minimization in that area. The most important aspect, we have used this fuzzy set, and this fuzzy logic-based analysis is the assignment of fuzzy membership values, which must lie in the range 0 to 1. But there are no practical constraints on the choice of the fuzzy membership values. This is the theoretical aspect of fuzzy set. Values are simply chosen to reflect the degree of membership of a set based on subjective judgment, landslide risk assessment by using fuzzy set theory. So we have applied this technique, and for this we need this landslide susceptibility zonation map using weight rating based approach. Then we have prepared resource potential map. Then after that, pairwise comparison AHP method, analytical hierarchical process method, fuzzy membership for landslide susceptibility and resource potential map. After that, risk scoring have been done of susceptibility map as well as the resource damage map. After that, data integration, landslide risk index. This is LPI, means this susceptibility into resource potential. If we multiply, then we'll get this landslide risk assessment matrix, and on the basis of that matrix, we have prepared the map. This is the flow chart of the whole study. Now, weight rating based method, we have done this all thematic layers are arranged according to their relative importance, probable influence of landslide, and this weighting number. Anyway, all this technique, many of you know this landslide susceptibility index. This is a very simple process, and after adding all this rating and weightage, we get the landslide susceptibility index, and we plot it on the map, and then we can get the landslide susceptibility maps. And these are the layers: lithology, road buffer, slope, relative relief. All these layers, these maps are on the right side of this the table. Here, rainfall, fault buffer, land use, drainage density. So all these materials have been considered, and after that we have prepared this landslide susceptibility map based on 4 classes, because there are very less number of landslides. Usually this these are low, very low. There is a very low column, of course, there. So usually this is the international practice of making this landslide susceptibility zonation, and after superimposing all the layers, after this calculating the weight, the rate, and calculating the landslide susceptibility index, we have plotted, and then after plotting we have got this final landslide susceptibility map. And if we consider this landslide incidence per square kilometer, we have considered this way, it is exactly matching with with our calculation. So from this point of view, our landslide susceptibility map we can consider is almost correct. I cannot say 100% correct. Now after that, land use, land cover. So we have got landslide susceptibility map, this one. So LPI we have this got from this map. Now we'll have to come to this resource potential. So land use, land cover we have classified into this, because we have got this only land use, land cover types in that area, and after that we have calculated the area of individual land use, land cover type, and then we have calculated this way. We have calculated this landslide risk on the basis of this resource potential. Now, why we have considered this land use and land cover factor as the only variable for resource potential? Because there is hardly anything, hardly any resource, because most of the people, there is hardly any this industrial sector, any type of, because many people are dependent mainly on the agricultural and the forest activities. So that is why this is treated as the resource potential of the study area. Now after that, we have calculated the risk scoring of landslide susceptibility. Risk scoring of landslide potential AHP method has been applied, and this aging vector was calculated by pairwise comparison matrix. Very high susceptibility zone was taken in first column, because maximum landslide spot is falling in this zone, and the probability of the further occurrence is also very high in this zone. The second column compares the high susceptibility zone with remaining categories. Similarly, this the order categories were compared as the same way of the previous 2 categories according to their relative importance. Always we should keep in mind that whether we calculate weight or rate, it is the relative importance of landslide occurrence. The calculated aging vector values have been considered as fuzzy membership value. Fuzzy membership value is representing the risk score of landslide potential. So this aging vector we need to calculate on the basis of this comparison matrix, and after that, on the basis of this aging vector, this will be considered as the fuzzy membership value. So aging vector is actually the fuzzy membership value, which is important for calculating the risk on the basis of the fuzzy membership. Now, this is resource potential. The previous one was landslide susceptibility aging vector, and next one is this fuzzy membership value for resource potential. Similarly, we have calculated this this on the basis of the land use landslide categories and the relative importance. After that, we have calculated this fuzzy membership values. So based on this susceptibility and this resource potential, we have finally calculated the landslide risk index, and it is LPI into RDPI. So this is resource potential, and this is this susceptibility potential. On the basis of these two, we have calculated this matrix, and from that we are getting that this very high, this score high, then moderate, then low, then very low. So all this resource damage potential in this sector. So when we are preparing this matrix, in one side damage potential and another side landslide susceptibility, then after multiplying, we are getting these values. So here this VHS means very high risk, all these things. So on the basis of this calculated values, we have prepared this final map. This is the landslide risk zone. And from this risk zone, it is very clear that we have considered 3 landslides. Altogether, there are 5-6 landslides. That Tripura is not so much famous for landslides, of course. Only there are human intervention. Where there is human intervention, those places are suffering from this landslide, events. Now, this landslide risk value has been considered for this estimating or for finding out the landslide spots in those areas. Now, after that, what is the outcome of this risk assessment? We can calculate many things. We can calculate vulnerability, we can calculate susceptibility, we can calculate hazard, we can calculate risk. All these things we calculate. But what is the implication or the application of these types of calculation and preparing maps? Now, we have calculated the spatial distribution of risk zones and resource categories. So risk number of pixels in different resource categories, this is done, and the highest number, the result shows that only 242 pixels of the evergreen forest falling under very high risk zone. So this is very common, and in the very high risk zone, the amount of vegetation cover is very less, and vice versa. So that is why after that, what we do after calculating this, preparing this risk map, risk is the ultimate map, this hazard into vulnerability is equal to risk also we calculate sometimes, and elements at risk. On the basis of that formula we can calculate, but in this case, instead of considering the hazard into vulnerability into elements at risk, we have considered Wien's mathematical technique, which is known as fuzzy set. Now we do for planning. See, landslide management, we need this landslide event. After that, what are the consequences? Then when we estimate the consequences, we need to understand how we can remove this consequence, or what type of remedial measures we can take for this type of consequences. Now we need to delineate the landslide prone areas and assessment probable occurrence and consequences. After that, database of landslide is required and detailed assessment of individual slope is required. Landslide controlling measures should be determined, and after that, whether it is safe at the moment or not, that should be identified. And on the basis of this, landslide notification and landslide warning, it's very important, but only for specific slopes, because I told you Tripura in most of the cases slope is moderate. The topsoil cover in most of the cases is sandy. The lower layer in some places, or the areas where there is Holocene formation, those areas are very soft, but due to human intervention, the tilla lands are being cut by the local people. The roads are widening in an unscientific way. That's why this type of landslide warning system and notification system is vital for some of the landslide prone areas. So we have taken a case study And this area, it is in Ambasha. Every year, almost every alternate year, I will not say every year, every alternate year, this area suffers from this huge number of landslides. And this is due to the widening of road because of human intervention. See, we have prepared this detailed contour map of 2 meters interval with the help of total station. And after that, this is the microslope units of, this is the, as a whole, it is called the terrain model. We have prepared this microslope units on the basis of the total station data only. Now see, these were the condition of the retention walls. The local people know it is local PWD, sometimes it is CPWD, they used to take this type of measures, but this is of no use. And due to this huge mass which is coming down from the upside, these retention walls, in most of the cases, it failed. In some cases, just see, there is no cement or no sand, anything. These are the tartines. These are not the ways of this taking the necessary measures. Now, they have constructed, after removing them, they have constructed retention wall. Only one weep hole is there, and the height of the retention wall is very less. It is less than this 5 feet. Just imagine, it is less than 5 feet, less than the height of a human people. And when the mass will come from the upside, this area will be affected and the roads will be blocked. And this is subsurface drainage condition. This is also very important. This this is earthen subsurface drainage, and most of the cases materials come and these drainages are blocked, and sometimes the roads are blocked in most of the cases. These are the tartines with this wire netting, and through these gaps of these tartines, the materials are coming, and sometimes it will fail also, because only one tartine, how many feet it will be there? 3 to 4 feet. Now, we have taken all the microslopes in considering, only one slope we have considered. And we have proposed that this is the road and there is a drainage system, of course, and before that there should be a gap. And this gap, on the basis of this soil measurement, this soil properties, grain size, all these things, we have taken so many samples, from 6 samples from this slope only. And after that, we have determined this failure, this possibility and the capacity. And after that, we have prepared this type of retention wall, this as a proposed one. I will show in details. So in both sides of the road, there should be at least 4 to 5 meters gap, so that the road immediately cannot be blocked. So we have tested the soils in the laboratory and this estimated the slope gradient. This after that, on the basis of the soil, this character, in most of the cases, this unconsolidated sandstone you see with clay alteration. In some cases, clay is underlain by the sandstone. Sometimes somewhere it is overlay. So this type of sands, what they do, when the rainwater percolates over the surface, then it goes down very easily and subsurface layers become wet, and in most of the cases they fail like this. So this drainage configuration is needed. It is 20 minutes, no? 30, yes, 2 minutes. The surface of an area is affected by sliding, generally uneven, hummocky and transverse by deep fissures. So these are common measures. Drainage configuration is needed. For this case, we proposed that there should be 8-meter gap from the road till the hill slope, and after the hill slope there should be retaining wall at least 4-meter height, and the thickness should be at least 1 meter, and after that there should be a concreted drainage, surface drainage. It is 0.5 meter deep, so that when the water will come through the weep holes, it can pass through this subsurface drainage system. So by this way we have planned. And retaining wall, on the basis of our estimation, we have proposed this type of proposed length of retaining walls, 54 meters, along with their heights. So in this area, since it is affected by this, frequently affected by these landslide events, so we have proposed this way on the basis of the measurement of soil characteristics as well as the amount of rainfall and possible load. And after that we proposed, this is the area, you know, this is one hill, this is another hill, Boramura, Atharamura, Longtorai, all these hills, and this is the existing highway, and it is going across the hills. So when they are cutting these hills, naturally they are not doing it scientifically. In most of the cases, the slope is more than 50 degrees even. I have shown previous figures. In some cases, slope is more than 50 degrees. So the possibility of occurring landslide is always there due to human intervention. But naturally, other areas are not suffering from this landslide. Now we have proposed that why this we are crossing this land. Instead of that, there is a bypass. This is the existing bypass now. We have proposed that the bypass should be converted into the main expressway or the national highway, because this is going almost through the plain areas without destroying these hills. So the possibility of landslide occurrence will be very less. So vegetal treatment, in some cases it is proposed after the slope treatment like this. This is common, you have found everywhere. So after that, we need to have the proper warning system. Now this government of India and through different NDMA, then DST, then DRDO, all of them, they are trying to prepare they are trying to supply the instruments for landslide warning. And in some cases we get this warning. So we need to correlate the research between rainfall and landslide incidents. This antecedent and predicted rainfall and current rainfall we'll have to analyze on the basis of this. After that, prediction of exactly when landslide are likely to occur. And after that, we need to determine after this prediction system and all necessary measures, how much area is being affected. We'll have to monitor it. So and the aim is to minimize injury and life loss damages. So with this, I thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Sunil Kumar De, sir, for the presentation. And as per the question and answer session concerned, first of all, we have to complete our presentation for today's session, and then at the end of this session, we will be concluded along with the question and answer session. Okay, so our next speaker is...
Dear Madam, 1 minute. Yes. I have another lecture at 4 o'clock in Allahabad University, Arvind Dubey Memorial Lecture, so I think it will not be over by 4 o'clock.
Okay, yes, this is not be...
okay, keep the question, I will reply accordingly.
Okay. As per, yeah, okay, sir, definitely, it's definitely required right now. So, yes, the participant, you can ask the question now. If there is anything you wanted to know from Professor Sunil Kumar De, you can ask the question. Sir, there is already some question in the chat box. If you able to see that,
yes,
you can answer them, sir. There is 2 questions, one by
aging
one.
vectors forming fuzzy set members will give potential quantification of a decision regarding susceptibility. I think susceptibility is one of the component. Yes, it is not the whole for calculating this thing. Aging vectors forming fuzzy set members will give preferential quantification. Preferential quantification of a decision regarding susceptibility. I think, yes, it is a part, of course. Do you separate fuzzy set member groups as separate classes too? We have done only 5 classes, not more than that. Sir, is the contour-based DTM interpolated to a Teen model to get those high-value sloping elevation triangles? No. You can get, if you take, for example, 30 points you are taking for 1 meter or 2 meter intervals. The database are already in your computer system. We have used this one, and then we have used this LISCAT. If you convert this data to LISCAT, you can prepare anything. Even DAME you can also prepare from that one. Bad speaker on my system. Bad speaker on my system, madam. What does it mean? I do not know.
Actually, he's telling that he cannot speak out, actually, sir. So that's why he's
Okay,
telling
okay.
like that. So he's
Okay,
not able
okay.
to speak, only writing, that's why.
So I think I could cover the questions. Only in brief, I'll tell you that susceptibility is a part of course, it is a fuzzy membership value. We'll have to calculate for susceptibility. It's a part. Nothing else. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Other participant having any question can ask right now. You can speak out also and can write in the chat box.
Dr. Bishwajit, sorry for this. I forgot. I missed the date, of course.
No, sir. Thank you for your good presentation and valuable lecture.
I am talking to Syed Bishwajit.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Actually, I am out of station. That's why I could not.
Okay.
Hear. But thank you so much for the wonderful lecture as usual.
Okay, and Dr. Bishwajit Bera, I am sorry because today is the day they have organized this R.N. Dubey Memorial Lecture. So it will start from 4 o'clock.
No issue, sir. No issue. But for
All the best.
provided you
Thank
lecture,
you.
that's why I'm
Thank
really
you.
share my humble request. Thank you.
Thank you. Both Bishwajits and the coordinator also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for the
Okay.
nice presentation, sir.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you, sir. Now, moving to the next speaker, we have along with us Professor Bishwajit Bera, Dr. Bishwajit Bera. Let me tell that he has a rich experience on teaching in different core areas of geography in various colleges and universities. Over the last 14 years, he has awarded PhD degree from University of Calcutta under the supervision of Professor S.R. Basu on geotechnical investigation of landslide hazard in Gangtok town of Sikkim, Himalayas. He taught 8 years in the Department of Geography, Ravindra Bharati University, and also served as coordinator and head for 5 years. He also taught in the PG Department of Geography, Vijay Krishna Girls College under University of Kolkata. Presently, he is working as an assistant professor in the Department of Geography, Siddo Kano Birsha University, Purulia, India. His field of interest in geomorphology, environmental geography, and hydrology. He is a recipient of prestigious Young Geomorphologist Award in 2008 and International Young Geomorphologist Scholarship Award, Australia. Dr. Bera has published 5 books for school, college, and university students and several research articles in both national and international peer-reviewed journals. He is a reviewer for various journal publication houses like Wiley and Sons, Springer, Taylor, and Francis, Elsewhere, Saga, and Nature. Dr. Bera regularly appears in debate talks in both national and electronic media. He has successfully completed ICSSR major project on fluoride dynamics in hydrogeological diversity of pre-Cambrian Chota Nagpur Plateau area, India, and societal impact under Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India. Now he is an associate editor of Scientific Inquiry Journal. So I would like to request Professor Bishwajit Bera to share the screen and to start on.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, but due to very poor network in my location, I am sharing my presentation through mobile net. Okay.
Yes, sir. This is visible. Your screen is visible.
Yeah.
You can see the slides also properly.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you. Respected delegates of SIAT and NIDM and distinguished delegates. Today, I will talk on earthquake-induced landslides in Sikkim and Western Bhutan Himalayas. So before coming to talk on this particular topic today, I want to say few sentences. Globally, landslides are one of the most devastating geohazards that impose serious threats to human life and economic conditions by the never-ending socio-economic burdens. With the recent changes associated with the unplanned urban expansions and severe climatic extremes, landslides are expected to increase dramatically due to the heavy rainfall and the serious infrastructures construction in the mountainous region. We know landslides denude mountains, transport sediments to rivers, lakes, and oceans, and modify the Earth's surface environment and ecosystem. Landslides of all rates represent geohazards that may lead to property damage and casualty. The hazards that landslides present and their impact on Earth's surface primarily depend on their volume and the rate at which they move, as well as their responsiveness to hydroclimatic variability. However, quantifying landslide dynamics is challenging due to the stochastic nature of the environment and external disturbances. To reduce the economic burden and human losses, it is helpful to delineate and identify potential landslide-prone areas. In this regard, landslide susceptibility mapping is regarded as a useful tool in disaster management and mitigations. The susceptibility zonation maps can be first step towards a complete risk assessment that assists authorities and decision makers for initiating appropriate mitigation measures. Over the past few decades, landslide susceptibility mapping techniques were extensively developed and implemented by several researchers, scientists, scholars, and each technique has proven to have its own sole merits and demerits. Landslide susceptibility expresses the likelihood of the landslide event occurring in given area based on local terrain conditions. Landslide susceptibility mapping partitions the geographical surface into zones of varying grades of stability based on evaluating the consequence of probability toward landslide generated using the causative factors estimated to induce the instability. Landslide susceptibility mapping plays a significant role in risk mitigation, especially in introducing countermeasures aimed at decreasing the risk associated with landslides. Moreover, landslide susceptibility mapping could be engaged to depict locations of unknown landslides in the future, support with emergency decisions, and mitigate future hazardous events. You see, I'm just coming to talk on this particular topic. The Himalayan terrain or Himalayan rugged mountain chain is prone to or susceptible to landslide and most vulnerable mountain chain in the world. Why? Now, due to active neotectonic activities, the constant collision between the Eurasian plate and Indo-Australian plate. Many geologists already proved that the northeastern part of the Indian subcontinent is being submerged beneath the Eurasian plate. So, geology. I'm talking about the lithological characteristics or diverse nature properties along with structures are very, very complicated and complex. If I compare the central Himalaya or eastern Himalaya with western Himalaya, and you know, the formation or the development of Bengal geosyncline in the eastern portion of the Indian subcontinent. Approximately 2,400 kilometer length, the rugged, young, fold mountain chain of Himalaya. From Namche Barwa range of Arunachal Pradesh to Nanga mountain or naked mountain of Pakistan occupied Gilgit-Baltistan, and 250 to 500 kilometers width from Tibet to Terai Belt. Not only that, we know there are different mountain chains like Kullunsa, Karakoram, Tien Shan, Himalaya, and Hindu Kush, also radiating from the central Brahmin North. But worldwide, many researchers, mostly geologists, geomorphologists, hydrogeologists, and their research articles published in Nature Journal, Nature Communication, Scientific Report, Nature Reviews, Nature Geoscience, and many renowned Elsevier, Springer, Taylor, and Francis journals. And most of the scholars, scientists, they opine that Himalaya or Himalayan mountain chain is most vulnerable and susceptible to landslide. Friends, there are a series of questions today. Why? You know, before independence of India, the frequency, the magnitude, I'm not talking about magnitude, frequency of landslides were higher, or not higher. If I compare the present situation after independence or after 1950, you know, the frequency of landslides in different pockets of the Himalaya like Arunachal, Bhutan, Sikkim, Darjeeling, Nepal, Uttarakhand, Himachal, and Jammu and Kashmir. You know, the frequencies day by day significantly increasing. Not only the tectonic activities, neotectonic activities, and high rainfall. Simultaneously, after independence of India, both central and state government, with collaboration, various developmental activities have been executed, are being executed in different pockets of the Himalayan states without examining the lithological status, present condition, structures, soil strength, etc. That is why the frequency of the landslide is gradually increasing in the Himalayan pockets. Friends, I'm coming. You see the slide? In 2011, 18 September.
Are you moving the slide, sir?
No. Don't worry. I will move.
Okay.
I'll change the slide.
Okay, okay.
In,
Oh,
in 2011, 18th September, there was big earthquake occurred. The epicenter was located near Mangan of North Sikkim. You see the location of the Mangan in my first slide. You know, more than 11 people were died. But maximum landslides were distributed in the western and southern Sikkim, simultaneously the western part of the Bhutan. Geologists, geomorphologists were confused. Why? Not landslides are confined in and around the proximity of the vicinity of the epicenter of the earthquake Mangan. So there is big question today. Not only that, you know what happened in 2015? A series of earthquakes and epicenters, more than 230 earthquake epicenters were located in between the capital city Kathmandu of Nepal and Pokhara. 230 earthquake epicenters. You know, after earthquake, such devastating earthquake, today the underground geological structures have been completely modified. So when today we are going to execute any developmental project like national highway, state highway, bridge, culvert, sluice gate, ropeway, we have to investigate thoroughly what is the present geological condition, soil strength. You see, the second slide. This is the political boundary of Bhutan and also Sikkim. You see the yellow boundary line. Now you see the lithological map of entire Bhutan and part of Sikkim. When we are talking about landslide frequency or landslide susceptibility map, zonation map, applying AHP, machine learning, deep learning, statistical, mathematical, or different models, modern digital hybrid model or the analog model, we must have to understand about the ground status. Otherwise, very difficult to understand the nature of the landslide. Why I am talking? Individual landslide has individual nature or character. I am working in different pockets of Arunachal, Bhutan, Nepal, Sikkim, Darjeeling, Uttarakhand, and also Himachal, Laul and Spiti, Dalhousie, Dharamsala region today. Few scholars also working under my supervision today. Friends, you see the western part of the Bhutan, MBT, MCT, MFT, STD. These are major structural thrusts, main boundary thrust, main central thrust, main boundary thrust, main Himalayan frontal thrust, and also South Tibetan detachment system. These are almost or more or less parallel thrusts. These are weak zone, running more or less parallel. Not only that, when I am talking about Bhutan, western part of Bhutan, you know, from Phuntsholeng to Gedu, Chukha, Paro, Thimphu, Wangdu, Trumsa. Trumsa is the Switzerland of the Bhutan. You know, many local thrust fault also exposed. Not only that, joints, cleavage, bedding, paka also have been exposed on the lithological diversity of the western part of the Bhutan along with the south and west Sikkim. Next slide, you see, this is the relief and drainage map. Why I'm showing this map? You know, relief and drainage, both are very important factors, positive factors behind landslide. Most of the scientists, when they are preparing the landslide susceptibility map, applying any technique, HP, machine learning, deep learning, they must consider these important factors. That's why I'm just showing the relief and drainage scenario of the western, entire Bhutan, but I'm talking about the western Bhutan. Now you see stratigraphy. Another important map, stratigraphy. The stratigraphy of Chukha, Bunakha, Paro, and Seluna. Paro, Seluna, Jenekha, Chelela, Bunakha. You see, except Chukha and Bunakha, the subsurface lithology is coarse quartzite. But Chukha and Bunakha, you see the underground rock structures, rock strata, their composition. Mainly, it consists by micaceous quartzite with schist interbeds. You know, along the national highway of Bhutan from Phuntsholing to Paro and Thimphu, I have identified the various secondary and tertiary geological structures through GPS receiver and ultimately superimposed on this particular lithological map to understand the nature of the landslide. Now, you see, I have prepared this map, location of landslides on geological map along the national highway from Phuntsholing to Paro. Very interesting map. After 2015, you see, every year, except in 2020, I have visited with my team, my scholars, and also identified different landslides. Most of the landslides are reactivated slides. And you see, more than 15 slides are confined in the micaceous quartzite along with schist. Next map you see, from Paro to Thimphu, you see only 2 or 3 landslides. Another one from Thimphu to Punakha, more than 8 slides. Few are reactivated. Old slides mainly occurred due to heavy rainfall and also 2011 Mangan earthquake. And the slides are mainly confined in the previous mentioned rock strata. Now I'm coming to the another part, you know, the Sikkim Himalaya. You see the geological as well as the drainage map of the Sikkim Himalaya. Now I'm showing the lithological map of the western and southern district of the Sikkim Himalaya. Mostly, you know, the quartzite, phyllite, schist, amphibolite, these are the rocks, principal rock types in south and western part of the Sikkim Himalaya. And you know, in the recent years, the next slide you see, in the recent years, after 1980s, the land use or land cover has been drastically modified. You know, the natural vegetation cover has been reduced tremendously. Not only that, many developmental works projects have also been executed, are being executed today in different pockets of south and western part of the Sikkim Himalaya. Now, I will show you the landslide scenario. I have identified these landslides and also examine their nature, not applying the machine learning, deep learning, mathematical or statistical model and technique. Obviously, I have prepared different susceptibility map after that. You see, the description of the significant landslide along Meli-Jorthang State Highway of South Sikkim. Rotamete 1, Rotamete 2, Jorthang slides. Friends, not only I have identified and captured the photograph, simultaneously our team measured the rock types, land use, slope, strike, slope angle, volume of displacement, where landslide tip, toe, right flank, left flank, crown are exposed on the surface. It is very, very important when you are going to investigate or examine any kind of landslide in hilly or mountainous region. Later, I will talk on this particular aspect, definitely. Next slide, you see the description of significant landslides along Noya Bazar Gejing State Highway of West Sikkim. Many slides. Lower Saldang slide, Sikkim slide, Bardang slide, Lakeship slide, Gejing slides, also identified in this particular road section. Now, you see the location of landslides on geological map. I have projected or superimposed the landslides. I have identified 8 slides along the national highway from Meli to Namchi town. You see, out of 8 slides, 5 slides are reactivated slides, old slides, mainly reactivated due to 2011 Mangan earthquake. Far away. The location of these slides are far away from the Mangan epicenter, occurred in 2011. Mostly you see schist, phyllite, mica schist are the principal or the dominant rocks with vulnerable structures, foliation, joints. Next, you see location of landslides on geological diversity along the state highway from Namchi to Bakhim. You know, Namchi to Bakhim, in between another stretch from Namchi to Damthang, there is no landslide. And from Damthang to Bakhim or Rabangla, I have identified few slides, more than 6 slides. These are mainly occurred or happened in the principal Gorubathan formation of Darling group, composed of chlorite, sericite schist, phyllite, and quartzite and mica schist also. But why there is no slide in between the Namchi and Damthang or on this particular stretch? I have also prepared landslide susceptibility map in this particular, for this region, applying BIS technique, Bureau of Indian Standard. I have considered all the parameters and prepared the thematic maps, but this particular stretch, there are as such no secondary or tertiary geological structures or as such no human intervention. That's why yet no slides have been occurred there. Next, you see from Bakhim to Pelling city, also identified 8 slides which are located in the principal Darjeeling and Kanchenjunga formation. Rocks are mainly phyllite, schist, quartzite, mica schist, sandstone, shale. These are also reactivated slides, but I have identified 2 slides. These are completely new slides, no reactivated. Next, you see the next slide from Peling to Uttore, another straits. Our team identified 9 slides, which are also located on Darjeeling Kanchenjunga Next Formation, the principal rock types, phyllite, mica schist, sandstone, and shale. Almost, I have collected the information regarding the history of the slides from the Sikkim Geological Survey of India. I talked to the local people. Previously, slides occurred, but out of 9 slides, 7 slides are reactivated slides, mainly reactivated due to 2011 Mangan earthquake. The last stretch, you see, from Jorthang to Lake Sheep. We have also identified 19 slides, but few were new slides. Most of them are reactivated slides. We have thoroughly examined their nature. We have collected rock, soil, and tested the strength of the rock, soil nature, land use, land cover in the ground. And our team tried to investigate or examine where the crown or top or right flank or left flank or tip are situated in the field. Friends, when people talking about landslide susceptibility mapping, machine learning, deep learning, statistical, mathematical model, fuzzy-based model, I know many young researchers, many scholars yet not visited the Himalayan terrain. But when you are really want to mitigate the landslide hazard, first we have to visit the field after landslide, after monsoon, or sometime during the inaugural session. The director sir already told that mainly in Uttarakhand region, prolonged dry spells is also responsible for the landslide. I do agree with director sir. So for the young scholar researchers, we must have to visit the field. We have to identify the slide, and not only identify, examine the nature of the slide. Geomorphology, geology, structure, hydrogeology, which condition, dripping, drying, flowing, dam, which condition. Otherwise, very difficult to understand how to mitigate, how to tackle the slide. For example, when slides occur far away from the human habitation or settlement, we are not concerned about that. Today, in Darjeeling, Gangtok, Itanagar, Bomdila, Bhalukpong, TP, and different pockets of Uttarakhand also, the frequency of landslides has been tremendously increased or are being increased. Why? Due to excessive stress. When we are constructing road, executing any developmental projects within urban agglomeration, without considering the soil strength, we construct it or we construct high-rise multi-storied building, this particular soil or rock, fragile rock, can't bear the or carry the excessive stress. So friends, if I avoid any developmental projects within the high risk zone or vulnerable zone, we can't completely stop the landslide hazard or any natural hazard, earthquake, avalanche, but we can reduce the intensity of risk. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This was a nice learning session from us, from you, sir, and that was like a very nice presentation, and hope our participants enrich themselves with a lot by listening to you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Now, this is again the question and answer session. So anyone wanted to ask a question, please can speak out and can write in the chat box.
You can directly ask any question to me.
Yes. There is a raised hand I can see. This is from Deepak Hola. Would you like to ask anything, sir? Deepak, sir? Anybody want to ask? Please ask now. Thank you, sir. I think the audience and the participants are very much satisfying, sir. Just a question from my side, sir.
Of course.
That how much this machine learning, data science, and these new techniques going to be like going to be give us the result, which is really a very much as per the accuracy concern is very much accurate. That one of the question in my mind behind that how much they are very much accurate as we do it by going to the area or going to the AOIC.
Okay, very interesting question. Today scientists, scholars, young researchers are very much interested about the application of machine learning, deep learning, statistical and mathematical model. I am also trying to apply such techniques in different pockets of the Himalaya. In case of machine learning or deep learning technique, these are really very good technique, very good mathematical technique, but validation and correlation both are very, very important in case of machine learning and deep learning.
Yes.
So real field data regarding the landslide occurrence is very much important. So if you provide maximum ground data,
yes,
so you will get very good result, means accuracy. Otherwise, machine learning, deep learning, nothing.
Yes, sir.
I think.
Yeah, but on the basis of this one, I think one person asked a question, the chat box, which I can see. He asked that, can you please brief on about machine learning technique? Where can we learn? Like totally related to the.
For machine learning, applying machine learning, you can predict not only landslide, you can also predict any kind of natural, quasi-natural hazards. So for individual machine learning technique, So individual comments, so you have to know the different softwares like Python and so on, So very difficult to say about the machine learning. For machine learning, I think it will take some time. If I present the lecture on machine learning, definitely I will talk how I have prepared these maps, susceptibility maps.
Yes.
Today, actually, I have presented my paper only field-based inventory, field-based technique, not machine learning technique. But I know the machine learning technique.
Yes, that's true, sir. This is actually a huge topic, the machine learning technique.
Yeah,
For
yeah, I
that,
know.
of course, yeah, in the future, we will conduct. we are looking forward.
Syed organization also conducting different machine learning, deep learning programs
Yes.
and course also, I know.
Yeah. We are looking forward about this, and as the sir said, that some language information or the language command is needed here, programming language, to know more about it, or otherwise it is just you will feel like this is just a black box and you are giving input and getting some output, but to know behind it, you have to be a little bit know the base like programming. Thank you so much, sir. This was a nice presentation, sir.
Thank you, and especially to Dr. Biswajit Roy Chaudhary for giving me such opportunity.
Yes, sir. I think Biswajit sir is on the way.
Yeah, he called me. I talked with him. No problem. Thank you to you also for
I will
conducting
convince.
this program.
Yes, sir. So we reached at the end of this session, and today is the first day session. We reached at the end of the today's first session, and time comes to end up the today's lecture now. And so on behalf of myself, Syed, and NIDM, I would like to thank Professor Surya Prakash sir, Professor Vinod Kumar Sharma sir for their presence and took out valuable time of your busy schedule, and thank you for blessing us, and thank you for your addresses, sir. I would like to thank Professor Sunil Kumar Dey and Dr. Biswajit Bera sir for gracing your crucial work and sharing with us your opinion and findings, which is going to be very helpful for by looking on this present time. This was a wonderful session because of these presentations. I would like to thank Mr. Arindam Ray from Syed and Mr. Anil Kathet from NIDM for such nice coordination along with me. At last but not least, I would like to thank the whole team of NIDM, Syed, along with the Major General M.K. Bindal sir and our Syed Biswajit Chairman Biswajit Roy sir for providing us such a nice platform. I would like to extend my big thanks to all the listeners who present for their presence and for their patience and encouragement. So we will meet again tomorrow for another capacity building session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.